No one saw it coming. When South Park aired that episode, it didn't just break the internet. It shattered the mirror we've been staring into for years. The episode dropped like a bomb in the middle of prime time, and within minutes, social media went nuclear. Not with laughter, with something else, something uncomfortable, something real. This wasn't just another Trump joke. This was an autopsy of American power itself, performed live, in front of millions with surgical precision and zero anesthesia. And at the center of it all stood a ballroom made of gold. The setup seemed simple enough. South Park, doing what South Park does best, roasting politicians with cartoon brutality. But somewhere between the opening credits and the final fade to black, something shifted. The laughter started to catch in people's throats. Because this golden ballroom, this grotesque monument to ego and excess, wasn't just a parody, it was prophecy. The show constructed a space designed to celebrate greatness, to honor leadership, to embody the American dream at its most triumphant. Instead, what materialized on screen was something entirely different. A cathedral of narcissism. A temple where substance had been sacrificed on the altar of spectacle. Where every surface reflected not achievement, but appetite. Not vision, but vanity. The Golden Ballroom was meant to celebrate greatness, one critic wrote the next morning. Instead, it became a shrine to everything we've been too afraid to name. And the moment viewers realized this wasn't just about one man, that it was about all of us, about the system we built, the values we abandoned, the future we traded for viral moments and trending hashtags, that's when the real conversation began. The question wasn't whether South Park had gone too far. The question was whether they'd gone far enough. Let me take you inside. The ballroom doesn't just appear on screen. It materializes, solidifies, becomes more real than reality itself. The camera pushes through massive doors, and suddenly you're standing in the center of American excess made manifest. Gold, everywhere. Not the warm gold of sunset or achievement, the cold gold of transaction, of purchase, of possession. It coats every surface like a disease that's mistaken itself for a cure. The walls don't just shimmer, they pulse with an almost organic quality, as if the room itself is alive, breathing, feeding on the attention it demands. Chandeliers hang overhead like crystallized greed, each one worth more than most Americans make in a year, swaying slightly, as if moved by the hot air of endless self-congratulation rising from below. The murals aren't art. They're propaganda wearing art's clothes. Demonic figures twisted into poses of worship, their faces contorted in expressions that could be ecstasy or agony. It's impossible to tell. Maybe it's both. But here's what makes it brilliant. The room lies. Every reflection in every gold-plated surface shows you what you want to see, not what's there. Stand in front of that wall, and you look powerful, important, destined. The ballroom doesn't reflect reality. It manufactures it. It's not a space designed for celebration. It's an ideology given form, a worldview made architecture. This is where ego comes to worship itself. And the most terrifying part? It's not fictional. We've all been inside this room. Every time we've scrolled past human suffering to watch celebrity drama. Every time we've traded truth for entertainment. Every time we've let the loudest voice win because at least it's interesting, at least it's engaging, at least it's not boring. The ballroom isn't Trump's, it's ours. We built it. One click at a time, one share at a time. One moment of looking away from what matters to stare at what sparkles. South Park just gave it a name and turned on the lights. And that's when the guests started to arrive. They came in single file at first, then in clusters, then in a flood. The billionaires, the tech titans, the new gods of Silicon Valley wearing hoodies that cost more than cars, carrying gifts that would make ancient kings weep with envy. But these weren't tributes from allies. They were offerings from worshippers at a very modern altar. "Please make sure you have your reservation," a voice announces, dripping with obsequious formality. "And that you have your gifts ready." The first CEO steps forward, his smile practiced to the point of being surgical. In his hands, an AI-powered mirror. Not just any mirror, one programmed with a single function: to compliment, to affirm, to reflect back only what the ego wants to see, never what the soul needs to hear. He presents it like a holy relic. "This will never show you a bad angle, Mr. President. It's calibrated to your greatness." The crowd murmurs approval, because of course it does. In this room, sycophancy isn't a flaw. It's the price of admission. The next one brings a chandelier drone. Not content with stationary luxury, this one follows Trump through the ballroom, casting a halo of light wherever he walks. A manufactured divinity. A tech bro's vision of prophecy fulfilled through programming and quarterly earnings reports. "It tracks your movements," the CEO explains, his voice trembling with the excitement of innovation applied to narcissism. "Wherever you go, you'll always be in the spotlight. Forever. Forever." The word hangs in the air like a threat disguised as a promise. Then comes the throne. Platinum. Engraved with words that make George Orwell's corpse spin fast enough to power a city. Truth 2.0, not truth. Truth 2.0. Because the original version apparently needed an update, a patch, a reboot for the modern age where facts are flexible and reality is subject to terms of service. The audience watching at home doesn't know whether to laugh or vomit. Some do both. Because this isn't satire anymore. It's prophecy with a punchline. Every gift is ridiculous, yes, but also somehow inevitable. These are the people who've spent the last decade turning human attention into currency, outrage into investment portfolios, and truth into a subscription service. And then South Park twists the knife deeper. Because the show doesn't just mock the gifts, it exposes why they're being given. "On behalf of our platform," one tech CEO says, his eyes gleaming with something that might be ambition or might be something far more predatory, "we want to thank you for your engagement metrics." Engagement metrics. That's what they call it now. Not chaos, not division. Not the systematic dismantling of shared reality in favor of personalized rage feeds designed to keep people scrolling, clicking, hating, buying. Engagement metrics. South Park nails it with brutal clarity. These billionaires don't worship Trump because they believe in him. They worship him because he's profitable. Every scandal generates clicks. Every controversy becomes content. Every tweet used to be, and every Truth Social post now is, a data point in an algorithm that's learned one thing perfectly: outrage sells. Trump isn't a man in this ballroom. He's a product. A self-sustaining engine of attention that converts human emotion into shareholder value. He's what happens when charisma meets capitalism, and neither one bothers to ask whether it should. The CEOs keep coming, one after another, each gift more absurd than the last. A holographic flag that changes based on poll numbers. A subscription service for patriotism. Premium tier includes extra amendments. An NFT of the Constitution, because apparently we're speed-running the fall of Rome, but with better graphics and worse decision-making. Randy Marsh stumbles through the crowd, clutching a towel, yes, a towel, like it's the Hope Diamond. "I'm Randy Marsh from Tegrity Farms," he stammers, and you can hear the desperation, the pathetic hope that maybe, just maybe, his ridiculous offering will buy him a seat at this table. "In order for my company to make billions, we need you to reclassify marijuana on the national level. With your wisdom, I'm sure we can work out an arrangement that will be mutually beneficial." Mutually beneficial, the phrase that launched 1,000 bribes. "In return for your understanding, I wish to offer you this incredible towel." A towel. The scene should be funny, and it is. But it's also heartbreaking, because Randy represents everyone who's ever compromised their values for a shot at proximity to power. Everyone who's ever told themselves that corruption is just networking, that bribery is just lobbying, that selling your soul is just playing the game. The ballroom doesn't judge him. It welcomes him. Because in this space, there's no such thing as too low. There's only not rich enough yet. And just when you think the satire has peaked, just when your brain is already overloaded with the sheer volume of American dystopia on display, South Park does what it always does best. It goes darker. Another gift arrives. This one isn't from a tech CEO. It's from a governor. Florida, naturally. He presents a silver-plated space shuttle, his smile so wide it looks like his face might crack. On behalf of the state of Florida, he says with the enthusiasm of someone who's mistaken fascism for patriotism, I'd like to give you this gift. A space shuttle. To a man who's never shown interest in science unless it makes him look powerful, who's gutted NASA's budget in favor of vanity projects, who sees the stars not as humanity's future, but as another backdrop for a photo op. But that's not the point. The point is the gesture, the performance, the public display of fealty that says, I will debase myself for your favor. I will turn my state into your fiefdom. Just let me stand close enough to the spotlight that some of it lands on me. South Park isn't subtle about it. They can't afford to be, because reality stopped being subtle years ago. The camera pans across the ballroom, and we see them all. The parade of power-hungry sycophants, tech bros with messiah complexes, politicians who've traded governing for groveling, media figures who've discovered that criticism doesn't trend as well as celebration, that questioning authority doesn't drive engagement like worshiping it does. They're all here, all dancing, all pretending the music isn't a funeral march. And then, in the corner, barely visible through the crowd, something moves. Something that shouldn't be there. Something with eyes that glow just a little too bright. The demons are already inside,